Namaskar, Mabuhai. Welcome back to Soul Yatra Unfolds. Today's subject is something I'm not sure if you have ever thought or you may have thought. But I have been thinking about it not just for 1 day or 2 days, but for a long time. For many years, I wondered, how did the weekdays came in? How have we defined it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? What was the logic behind? And it got very interesting when I started pursuing astrology, because in astrology, this is very clearly mentioned that each weekday is related to a certain planet, and there are certain, the universe has a mechanism where that weekday, you could experience the behavior or the properties related to that planet. So it was very intriguing for me that, how is it possible? And eventually, after years of quest, I found my answer in astrology. And the normal understanding or belief is that astrology is subjective and it does not have very solid science behind it. But what came across very fascinating was that this was purely based on physics, maths, astronomy, and quantum physics. So, I had to share this, and I said, we must know, every youth today must know this. And I'm very proud also to say that they must also know that this came from nowhere but our Vedic science, which comes from India. With a lot of pride, I make this and share this and explain how this is connected with planets, what is the science behind, and why is it in the sequence from Sunday to Saturday. The most ancient texts from where we find it in Vedic history, it comes from the 6 Vedangas, Jyotish Shāstra, Vrihat Parashara Hora Shastra being one of the most famous one. The explanation there is very in a lot of detail, and Surya Siddhanta and Aryabhatyam. These are all ancient Indian Sanskrit mathematical texts. So we use a word called hora in Vedic astrology. Hora is connected to an hour of the day. It's a fundamental concept in Jyotish Shastra or astrological science, which measures time in relation to planetary influence either in the day or in the night. The word hora comes from 2 words. It's ahoratra. Ahoratra means day and night. So from aho, is taken off, so it's ho, and from ratra, the tra is taken off, and that becomes hora. That's the root word of hora. In fact, the word hour the root word is hora, and the word horoscope also comes from hora, where there it is explained it comes from Greek, but we all know that Sanskrit is the mother of all Indo-European languages. So hora again there means hour, and skopos means to observe. So it is observing that hour, which is together formed as the word horoscope. So we know that we've got 7 planets, and based on that, the weekdays are named. Sun is not a planet, it's a star, but in relation to Earth, Sun becomes an influencing body. Hence, we take off Earth as one of the nomenclature planets because this is where we live in, and we look at Sun and the other planets we influence us. In Vedic astrology, Rahu, Ketu, the dragon's head and tail, are not physical bodies; they are energy junctions. Hence, there is no day named based on them. So, if we were living on another planet, probably the name of Earth one day could be based on the name of Earth. So, it is a very relative definition to the place where we are in the solar system. So we all know a day is divided into 24 hours. In Vedic astrology or in India, we do not look at morning to midnight as a day. We say sunrise to the next sunrise is a day, because that's how the 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night make 124 hours, and the planetary influences are in a sequence which repeat in a daytime and nighttime, and they complete that cycle. Every hour of a day is influenced by a certain planet, and we'll come to the understanding how it happens. The sequence of these ruling planets repeats cyclically, and hence they create a 24-hour planetary cycle. Sun obviously being the largest body in our solar system and the most influential one because of it being a star, has a very important role to play, and it influences the first hour of Sunday. We'll come to the table how it does that. Now, every planet has different speed of rotation and revolution. So here I got this. It's actually a friend's daughter's, a toy, but I thought this would be useful to help understand the science of the planets and their physics and maths. How are they influencing it? So as you see, Sun here is in the center, and the other planets, but according to their distance, it has been placed. Mercury being the nearest to the Sun. What is missing here is Earth has a moon as well, which circles around Earth. We don't have that here. Now what happens is, as I said, each planet rotates on its axis. So the speed is different for all. So for example, moon rotates 1 kilometer per second on its axis. It's the fastest. And we all know that moon governs our emotions and fluids in our body. Mercury rotates 47.9 kilometers per second. Venus rotates 35 kilometers per second. And Sun, of course, we look at it at a relative motion. Mars rotates at the 24.1 kilometer per second. Jupiter rotates at 13.1 kilometer per second, and Saturn rotates at 9.7 kilometer per second. So what you see is the planets which are closest are spinning faster. As they go at a distance, they tend to become slow, and Jupiter and Saturn are very slow because of their large mass as well. And why we're talking this, we'll understand why is this maths important for us to know the influence. Now we have a speed of revolution. Obviously, planets which are closer to Sun, they circle the Sun faster than the ones which are on the outer lines of the solar system. Okay, and I want to tell you all something very interesting, that in spite of the spin, like for example, Mercury has a faster spin, but it's not necessary it has the same length of the day on its axis. So for example, Earth has day and night within 24 hours. So it completes a spin in 24 hours. But you'll find it interesting that each planet has a very dynamic time, the day. So for example, Mercury spins on its axis in 58 days, Earth days. So if you lived on Mercury, your one day would be equal to 58 days. Venus spins in 243 days. Earth, we know that it spins in 24 hours. Mars is the closest to Earth. It spins in 24 hours, 37 minutes, a slightly longer day than us. Jupiter spins, it's interesting that it is the slowest, but because it's pure gas, it's hydrogen and helium, Jupiter spins in 9 hours. So if you lived on Jupiter, your one day would be equal to 9 hours 55 minutes, and Saturn 10 hours and 33 minutes. Uranus is 17 hours and 14 minutes, and Neptune is 16 hours and 6 minutes. Why are we talking about all this? Because all of them contribute and are a factor to their influence, which causes that hourly influence of each planet. We'll continue to learn a little more about them, and then we'll put all of this together to understand why I was sharing this. Now comes the revolution of these planets around the Sun. So Mercury has 88 Earth days. So in 88 Earth days, it completes one revolution. It's the closest to Sun, and it's the fastest. Venus 225 Earth days. So we do it in 365 days. It completes a revolution in 225 days. Mars completes the revolution in 687 days. Almost, it takes 2 years to complete one circle. Jupiter takes about 11 years, 11.86 years. We are around average 12 years. Saturn is 29.46, so which is about 30 years. Uranus 84 years, and Neptune 164 years. You know why this is important for us to know? Because they are spinning at a certain speed, they are revolving at a certain speed. Hence, none of these planets are aligned. At some point of time, one could be here, one could be here, one could be here, and their spin and revolution, rotation and spin, both create magnetic fields and influence other planets. That's the important thing for us to know. So now what happens? As Earth rotates on its axis and it circles around the Sun, each planetary body acts as a cosmic energy transmitter, and has an influence on Earth. It has its influence on other planets as well, but right now it is important that we know that they all interfere either constructively or destructively on our forces, on our magnetosphere of our Earth by their energy field. And those forces, they have an influence on human biofields, physically, as well as they impact us mentally and emotionally. Now, why would they do that, right? That would be your question, that why would they impact us? We can understand that they would impact Earth because Earth is a magnetic body, but why would they influence human body? Because Vedic astrology captured the natural law of quantum physics years ago, thousands of years ago, before even physics began exploring the gravitational waves, the electromagnetic fields, and the quantum resonance. So what's the scientific or metaphysical basis to this? Even modern science observes that planetary positions in certain hours, they emit unique gravitational force, radiative energy, and subtle energetic influences on Earth. And as I said, they influence human physiology. They influence our decision making and success rate in our activities of life. I don't know if you've heard, but there is this new concept called chronobiology, which works with circadian rhythms and mental states of humans. So what's that? That's exactly what this science is saying, that at every time we are part of that unified energy field, and there is this interconnectedness. What could be happening light years away would have eventually an influence on not only Earth, but until the core of human body. We've heard that moon causes ocean tides, right? It is visible. But similarly, closer planets like Mars and Venus, they also create microgravitational variations affecting fluids in our body and in our brain, because we have a lot of water and fluid in our body. We know that sun emits intense radiation, ultraviolet rays, magnetic storms, and all planets are influenced, including Earth. These planetary magnetic fields from sun, which of course is very powerful, and plus other planets, they interact with Earth's magnetosphere and eventually influencing brain wave patterns and our hormonal cycles. We'll come to that now. There is something called electromagnetic resonance. This occurs when a system oscillates at its natural frequency in response to an external electromagnetic field. This phenomena is characterized by a significant increase in the amplitude of that oscillation when an external field influences us. Sometimes it matches, sometimes there is a conflict. So at every point, every hour in the day, each planet, by the virtue of its place where it is, and by its speed, and by Earth's exposure to that, is exactly influencing us with these explanations what I gave, by their magnetic field and by the virtue of being connected in the unified field. Do you know that in Vedic philosophy, we suggest a subtle energy field, which is called the prana, the life force, which permeates space, and it is modulated by planetary motions. What is prana? Prana is what we breathe, air. So air is everywhere, right? And that becomes a vital life force when we breathe in. So it is connected, and hence it is influenced by external bodies, even if the distance could be as far as Jupiter or Saturn. It's also been seen, it's also said that resonant frequencies of planets, they synchronize with the neural oscillations of our brain waves, and they alter our mental and emotional states during certain hours or horas. You've heard that on full moon day, people with mental issues demonstrate certain volatile behavior. no moon day, the behavior is different. Even normal people who are not even they're mentally unwell, even they sometimes say that today I feel high, today I feel very emotional, or today I feel low. This is all a result of this hourly influence, and of course this hour ultimately culminates into day-wise influence into our body and brain. If you go and study some of the NASA scientific observations, it will show that Jupiter and Saturn, because they are pure molecular hydrogen and helium, they influence the solar wind patterns, which indirectly affecting our Earth's magnetic field. At the same time, it influences our human bioelectric activity. Just like it has influenced Earth, human body has also felt that influence. You may not have probably seen it, or may not have understood, but there is an activity which happened in your body. In fact, there was a study done in some hospitals where they actually looked at admissions for heart attacks, which varied and which were very high at certain planetary hour and in specific lunar phase. If you're interested, you can let me know and I can share that medical study. Coming back to the science, so Earth rotates 1,670 kilometers per hour at the equator, and every planet has an angular velocity. So I will not get into details because not everybody understands physics and maths, but people who are interested can go and read about it, or I'm very happy to connect and have more discussions, productive discussions on this. And hence, because of this angular velocity, its relative angle with each planet changes every hour. That's a pattern which has been noticed. And hence the gravitational micropull also changes. When Earth optimally aligns with a planet's angular position, that planet's influence peaks at that point of time. Hence, angular velocity is very important for coming to this conclusion that which one influences us. And we had the capability to create a chart where it has been shown in a table based on what we just heard, the speed, the rotation, the revolution, the spin, etc. How every hour each one planet's influence is dominant by its angular velocity on Earth, and hence the reaction of human body residing on that Earth will resonate with the physical elements of that planet. Did it sound complicated? Let me give you an example. So Mercury has got a lot of potassium and magnesium. When we have our nervous system functions with sodium ions and potassium ions, which they create action potential. So one ion positive comes out, the negative comes out, they connect, and hence an electric circuit is formed in the nervous system. These components are very heavily found in Mercury. So in the hour when Mercury will, with its angular velocity, when its influence will be highest on our planet, our nervous system at that planet will be influenced. We'll later see what could be the potential outcome of that on human body and human mind. So the planetary sequence of horas or hour, where the planet is dominant, it goes like this. How is it first determined? It is in the Vedic order of planetary velocity and distance. So Saturn being the slowest, then Jupiter, then Mars, then Sun, then Venus, then Mercury and Moon. This is the sequence. So the first hora of the day on a Sunday is governed by Sun. That means on a Sunday, by the virtue of angular velocity and the distance, the first planet which influences, again I reiterate, here Sun is a star body, but because it influences us, so we look at it as a planet just for explanation's sake. The influence of the magnetic field of Sun and all its kinetic force is the highest on the first hour on Sunday. And what is that first hour? That first hour is sunrise, because remember we said we believe in Vedic science, it is sunrise to sunrise, 24 hours, that's how we complete. On a Monday, it will be moon, which will have its maximum influence of its forces on Earth. How does this sequence go? Let me read it out from the table. So on Sunday, first hour is Sun, then comes Venus, then comes Mercury, then Moon, then Saturn, then Jupiter, then Mars. This is the basic influence of planets in the planetary system. by all the signs what we heard. Then this repeats, then by cyclical pattern, then again 7 hours, then again Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, 14 hours, again Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, 21 hours, then comes Sun, then comes Venus, and the 24th hour is of Mercury. So we end Sunday with the last hour is Mercury. So what is the first hour on Monday? It is influenced by Moon. So the 25th hour, which is the first day of Monday, is influenced by Moon. And the sequence remains the same, the chronology. So now it starts with Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun. On Monday, the 24th hour ends with Jupiter. What is the next planet? The next planet is Mars. So Tuesday starts with Mars. The first hour of Tuesday, Earth is completely soaked with Martian energy. In the same sequence, on Wednesday morning at sunrise, which is the 25th hour after the 24-hour cycle, it is Mercury which influences Earth. And Thursday is Jupiter, Friday is Venus, and Saturday is Saturn. Are you not amazed at this science? How logical this can be, right? And what I have tried to explain is something which I would still say at a very, very broad level, because this involves a lot of physics and maths. But as I said, I'm always happy to get into productive discussions about these things, because one of my objectives, I think, is that a lot of our ancient sciences are lost. We don't know our own history. It is very important for us to know what is the logic behind. It has a scientific meaning. How did it come? How was it derived? Our youth must know that. And I would influence and encourage our youth to actually take this up as a topic of research, subject of understanding. Maybe I could be missing much more. There could be much, deeper science furthermore, which could, unleash so much more knowledge for us. And what is all this knowledge for us? For us to know as human beings, how do we manage ourselves? This is a science to actually help us manage our physical and mental state of mind, ultimately boiling down to our health, which we say is wealth. So now let me come to that part where we can say, how does it influence our state of mind and our physical health? Why do we say, that planets influence us? So it is true that on Wednesday, Mercurian energy has kicked off in the beginning of the day, and it will dominate the day, the body, the mind, and the planet, which is the Earth. When I say planet, our Mother Earth. In fact, you've heard in Vedic astrology, or in India, it is very common for us to start something which we say, important, like, maybe inauguration of an office, buying a house, or, starting a new business, or anything what we do, even naming a child, anything, we always start with an auspicious time, which is called the Muhūrta. The Muharat concept is completely based on these horas. This is another observation which has been going on, that actions done at a certain planetary hours lead to consistent outcomes, and at some lead to consistent delay, conflicts, or adversely affect prosperity. And that's why we prefer to follow specific times and muhurat to at least the launch of that program or anything what we are going to do. In fact, our everything, our weddings, our child's naming ceremony, housewarming, every occasion where we do it for the first time, while we have the prayers and everything, but it has to be done on a specific time, which is found in books. What usually, we resort to a pandit or a priest who gives us, but now you understand that how much of maths and science has gone behind that. It's not just coming out of a mythology. It is coming out of pure science and maths based on our planetary system and how in relation to Earth and the influence of these planets on Earth, including us as a human body. Let's see now how we relate these planets to us physically. So Sun relates to the pineal gland. It controls our circadian cycle, our vitality, and our overall state of mind, our thought process. I'm sure you all know how pineal gland is one of the 3 most important endocrine glands in our mind. Each one can take hours to be explained, but I am making different small episodes where you can get into details, you can get more details about these individual subjects. Moon controls our hypothalamus, which controls our emotions and fluids. Mars controls our adrenal gland, so we've got which is directly related to our fight or flight response system. Mars has a lot of red ferric oxide. We also relate it with our immune system, our red blood cells in our body. Mercury, as I said, is completely related with our nervous system. So it's the speed of thought, our communication, our ability to react, our speech, our thought process in conjunction with Sun. Just Mercury is very vital to our mind and body, and as you see in the solar system, Mercury is the closest to the Sun. Jupiter is a gaseous planet. It is of hydrogen and helium combination, where hydrogen is higher, and this influences our pituitary gland, which is the gland of creation of all hormones. Our growth, our cognitive intelligence, if we further delve into it, it also influences our liver, pancreas, and basically all organs which have got to do with growth. Venus influences our reproductive system. It also influences our hypothalamus, specific to the hormone called oxytocin, which is the love hormone, which is the hormone which creates bonding. So Venusian energy is related to that. Venus as a planet has got a lot of carbon, sodium, and nitrogen. It's a very gaseous planet, and why these organs can be influenced by that, again, it can be a very big subject, but I'm happy to always answer questions in more detail about that aspect, but it governs that area of our body. Saturn is air. It's considered to be very gaseous, and it has got rings. Saturn rules our musculoskeletal structure, our bones, bone marrows, which from a body part perspective. From a behavior perspective, it is Saturn which rules discipline and endurance, because air, what we breathe in, if it doesn't, what is the nature of air? It doesn't stay still. So if the air what we breathe in, which is a Saturn, if it does not go in our body and take its function in a disciplined way, our ability to, our resilience and tenacity will take a back step, because then the air, if it is not moving in the right direction, will make us very reactive, and it will take, and being reactive always takes away discipline and endurance. And we can again get into more details, but again I repeat, all these are very detailed topics. We can always get into that if anybody is very interested. But the fact is that this is how they influence our body, not just because astrology says that they are, but there is a scientific logic and connection to this. Another aspect, what would you do if you had a lot of Sun hora or hour influence in you? It influences authority, leadership, because Sun we always look at as the king, the ability to lead. It is authoritarian, but it has got a lot of leadership skills. The moon hora or the moon hour is for nurturing activities, emotional activities. And so in the daytime, when you see those hours, sometimes we can try to correlate why do we have certain mood swings and why are we feeling a certain feeling. Mars is all energy, competition. It's all about passion. It's all about our Martian activity. Mercury is communication, business. Mercurian person is also called the media person, the sales guy, the marketing person. Jupiter hora will always rule wisdom, education, school, teachers, guru tattva, mentors, administrators, educational leadership, or people who do project management. Venus hora will always rule love, art, luxury. Venus also rules the banking world, the stock market, desire, basically, film industry, anything which we want for pleasure and more money, anything which we like, jewelry, everything is related with Venus. Saturn hora is all about hard work, discipline. Saturn is related with subservient, downtrodden worker class. And that is why we say Saturn tells you always to be very humble. And it is about discipline. It doesn't question. It does not question authority. It just says what it has to be done. But it does it in a very disciplined and a very process-oriented way. So in a day, in a time when these hours, horas are more influential. You could watch in a day, how are you reacting to that hour? And remember, your reaction will also be based on what is your physical composition, which can be found out through an astrology chart. Each hora repeats twice in a day. Once in the daytime, once in the nighttime. Sometimes it could be third, but it will be probably at the twilight or at the end of the day, end of the 24 hours. In fact, in Ayurveda and medical astrology, remedies are often aligned with these hours. In fact, especially exercising, doing mudras. Mudra is another topic. I've already made another podcast with favorable horas for healing. And hence you'll see when you look at the chart what I'm showing, you'll also see why certain activities have been defined or guided to be done at a certain time. We have a table which will show where energy peaks and influence in human body. So sun is the morning hours, especially sun hora is very high at 6 or 7 a.m. Vitality, heart, bones, right eye, overall immunity. While I'm reading, but you can see this on your chart as well. Moon, evening and night hours, 8 to 10 p.m. Mind, fluid, blood, left eye, reproductive system. Mars, midday and late night, 9 to 11 a.m. or 9 to 11 p.m. Usually it is seen. Muscles, bone marrow, blood circulation, stamina. Mercury is usually mid-morning, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Nervous system, skin, speech, intellect, hands. Jupiter, early morning usually and noon, 5-7 a.m. or 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Liver, fat, metabolism, wisdom, centers in brain and thighs. Venus, hour would be, peaking hour would be early evening, 4 to 6 p.m. Kidneys, reproductive organs, skin glow, endocrine systems. Saturn is usually peaks at Saturn hora or Saturn energy peaks at late evening, night, 6 to 8 p.m., 2 to 4 a.m. Rules bones, teeth, nerves, chronic conditions, aging process. So I think I gave a lot of information. I tried to make it as crisp and as short as possible, considering the scientific basis to it. I could have described much more physics and maths into it and quantum physics, but it's not fair because not everybody understands. But I hope this gives some clarity and some understanding of how weekdays were nomenclated. Why Sunday is Sunday, why Monday is Monday, not because somebody just decided to give those days, because these planetary bodies have an influence on Earth as well as each other by the virtue of them living in the solar system and continuously rotating, spinning and revolving around sun. You're most welcome to reach out to me if you would like to know anything more about it, or you want to get into specific details in some section of it, be it medically related, be it bodily physiology related, or be it quantum physics, or be it maths and science physics. How does the calculations happen? I could give you more details on that. Thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed seeing it and you will share it with other people as well. That's my objective and goal, that more people know about it, that the weekdays, the names of the weekdays have come from India, from our Vedic physics, Vedic science, from Vedic astrology, and there is a solid science behind it. Thank you so much.